Hello everyone, and thank you all for joining us today for our webinar around content marketing for staffing agencies. My name is Isabel Pryor, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Australia and New Zealand here at LinkedIn. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items I'd like to share with you. You're all muted by default, so if you have any questions throughout the webcast, please use the Q&A box at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of this webinar, so please send through your questions and I will ask our presenters at the end. And we will also be recording this webinar, so everyone will receive an email with the link to the recording in the coming days. And now I'm happy to introduce you to today's presenters, Megan Spielman, Solutions Consultant here at LinkedIn for Australia and New Zealand, and Nina Blankenship, Solutions Consultant for Asia, based in our Singapore office. Hi Megan, hi Nina. Thanks so much for joining us today. Can you please explain a bit about what you're doing here at LinkedIn, what your role has started?
Hi everyone, my name is Nina Blankenship and I'm based out of Singapore but cover recruitment companies in Asia. I help companies come up with a strategy, content brainstorming, and execution for brand awareness. This includes lead generation, attracting candidates, clients, internal hires, and rebranding. Megan, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Megan Spielman. I partner with customers on the same marketing and branding strategies as Nina. However, I work with recruitment agencies across Australia and New Zealand. One of the things I love most about my job is I get to work with companies of all sizes, from 1 to 3 person shops to local 40-person to global organizations. I'm constantly amazed by the different approaches each of these companies take. As Nina and I were preparing for this webinar, we started by listing out what we hear most from all of you. We wanted to make sure that everything we covered today was relevant to you. The number one request we get, no matter the location, be it Japan, Australia, India, or Singapore, is how do we generate leads? Now, it's not just more leads, but it's more quality leads. Generating leads through content marketing is building a digital relationship that allows both the audience and poster to benefit. The audience needs to feel you're relevant, and you want to be talking to those who you solve a problem for. Nina, what else do you hear?
The second thing that we hear is that everyone wants to differentiate themselves from the competition. Customers that do this really well create their own content.
Nina, I couldn't agree more. The last thing we hear a lot is what type of content works best. We have a lot of examples today so that we can show you what others are doing well across APAC. At a high level, using engaging imagery and video captures people's attention. I see that agencies who define their value proposition and are not afraid to have their personality shine through their content generally rise above their peers. Before we get started, Nina, can you please take us through the agenda for today?
Yes, today we'll be going over the importance of content marketing and how to attract your 3 core audiences for recruitment agencies: clients, candidates, and consultants. Curate versus create, and a live Q&A. Throughout this webinar, Megan and I will be showing the best-in-class examples of content. Stay tuned, and we look forward to answering your questions. Megan, can you tell us a little bit about why content marketing is impactful for recruitment agencies?
Absolutely. When we think about content marketing, I think we must first change our mindset to open up to the realities of today. A big part of that reality is just how many messages are out there. The average person sees 5,000 plus multimedia messages per day. I'm just going to say that one more time to let it sink in. You and I see 5,000 plus multimedia messages per day. To put that into context, our parents' generation saw 3,000. That's a lot of noise to cut through to connect to who matters most to you. Now you might be thinking, why is there a goldfish on the screen? I promise, I have a point here. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. In fact, many reputable news sources are saying that our attention spans are now shorter than that of a goldfish, a mere 8 seconds. On top of that, we have research that supports we as a species don't actually remember much. I'm going to review a host of stats on how people recall. As I do this, I'd like you to think about your own personal experience. Try to think about the last ad that you remember. Just 14% of people remember the last ad they saw. And 8% remember the company that ad came from. And less than 3% recalled the ad being relevant to them. In my opinion, there lies the biggest problem. I asked you a moment ago to draw on your own experiences with ads, so I thought I'd share mine. I racked my brain when I looked at these stats and tried to think of the last ad that I remembered. It was tough. But then I started thinking about what's an ad that's recently impacted me. The ad is from a campaign called Worlds Apart. I'll give you a brief overview of that ad, and then we can analyze it together. This company took two people with opposing viewpoints and put them in a room together, not knowing the other's views. Then, through a series of get-to-know-you questions and activities, like building a bar together, they started to get to know each other. This company then played their original viewpoints, remember, they were opposing, and gave them the decision, stay and discuss over a Heineken or leave. All of the people decided to stay, and they, of course, enjoyed that over a Heineken. If you notice, I didn't tell you that this was a Heineken ad at the start of the story, and neither did they. They did not push their product, but rather drew me in and connected me to an experience we all have today and solved it with the simple act of sharing a beer, something we are all likely familiar with as well. The reason I remember this ad is I could relate to both the people's stories, and I could also relate to sharing a beer and having a conversation. The after effect of that ad, my view of Heineken, is no longer that it's just a beer. I feel something when I see their ads. I see their logo now more and more, probably not because they're advertising to me more, but because it's now a relevant brand to me. Something before that commercial, it didn't feel relevant to me. Storytelling is powerful, and leading with an audience-first mentality builds relationships that has a truly lasting business impact. What is the conversation that you will own and be remembered for? If we think back to our goldfish, my personal opinion is that people are more than willing to give attention, but it's getting harder and harder to capture that attention. That initial decision to invest time depends on you cutting through the noise, grabbing attention by showing you're relevant, and ultimately keeping that attention by providing value. So how do we create great content? Great content has 3 key elements. 1, you need to be entertaining. No one likes to read content that's boring. 2, you need to inform your audience. People engage with content to learn and to better understand. 3, you need to be consistent. If you post 5 times a day for 3 weeks and then you disappear for 3 months, you will not be top of mind. People will simply not remember who you are. In order to remain top of mind, you just have to be there. If you do these 3 things well, entertain, inform, and be consistent, that is when you're creating value for your audience. When we create great content, we're showing our value. This is when we start building online relationships that have a truly great business impact. Nina, can you take us through how this translates for recruitment agencies?
Sure. LinkedIn has found that your audience are looking for a recruitment agency that has 3 things: expertise, great service, and a strong reputation. As a recruitment agency, you have your finger on the pulse of the latest industry trends with the new in-demand skills that can inform your audience with your expertise. Your ability to communicate your knowledge is critical. The second topic is client service. Give your audience testimonials or a glimpse of what it would be like to work together and showcase the experience. Lastly, your brand's reputation in the market is key. Showcase awards, company wins, key accomplishments, and create advocates for your brand. What do people say about your brand? This is the social proof. Similar to TripAdvisor, people want to rely on your credibility in the industry. Who is your target audience? Recruitment companies typically have three audiences: candidates, clients, and recruitment consultants. How do you attract these audiences? Instead of posting what your brand wants from this target audience, we recommend putting your audience first. Think about what they are interested in order to become a candidate, client, or to join your organization. We recommend to position your brand as a partner and thought leader. Give back before providing value to your audience, before asking. New York Times best-selling author Gary Vaynerchuk recommends to give, and then ask. We'll show you some examples of what this looks like. But first, what do candidates want? The first audience is candidates. How does your brand want to be seen by a candidate? Are you known for only posting jobs, or a trusted partner that posts a variety of content about career consultations, tips, and trends? Remember, these candidates are putting their livelihood in your hands. Here are two examples of companies that do a great job of giving before asking and attracting candidates with multiple pieces of content. Megan, can you share some best-in-class examples of candidate attraction?
Funny you asked, Nina. I have a few queued up for us. I hope there's some laughs on the line. First, I want to highlight two examples from Miller Leith. Miller Leith is a 14-person boutique agency focused on FMCG headquartered in Melbourne, Australia. In this first example, they've posted a video that shows the depth of their network they will provide to candidates, with endorsements from business leaders at Nando's, 7-Eleven, and McCain, all great employers in Australia. In the teaser text of this post, they also display their focus on building relationships, and they also drive their credibility, sharing they've been in business for 5 years. In this last example from Miller Leith, they've really honed in on providing interview tips and tricks to candidates. After all, candidates don't live and breathe the interview prep process day in and day out like recruiters. Relating to the stressful interview process with your audience is important. I also love that they've closed their teaser text with "good luck."
This is a great example of providing a value add for a candidate, not asking them for something.
Exactly. Let's showcase another agency that does a great job connecting with candidates. Healthy & Knights is an Australian-based agency with presence across APAC, with 50 employees focusing on the technology sector. I absolutely love this post. You can't help but look at this photo and smile. It's entertaining, one of the key elements to great content. I also love the use of overlay text. I'm paying donuts. What? That really draws you in and makes you want to read more. Notice how they've used each element of this post, the teaser text, the image, and the headline, in a different way to grab attention. They're not just repeating the same thing over and over. Candidates in technology is their audience here. This audience generally wants to be on the cutting edge and work at exciting companies. I love how this post is showing the candidate that Healthy & Knights has a partnership with exciting startup who's willing to put their name behind it. Here we see another great image from Halcyon Knights. What I love here is they're not posting a job advertisement, but enticing candidates to get in touch who want to be in the know about roles that as recruiters, we all know, never get posted. They've really nailed how to tap into the passive candidate market here with a low pressure to no pressure conversation. Imagine you're a tech candidate picking between 3 recruitment agencies, Halcyon Knights being one of them, and you check them out online along with the other 2. Halcyon Knights have built a strong digital footprint by posting frequently, showing they're an expert at what they do. One does not wonder how they have over 26,000 followers on LinkedIn.
I love this image. Expressions and photos perform very well on LinkedIn. Now that we've heard a little bit about candidates, let's hear about our second audience, clients.
Sorry about that. Let's talk about our client audience. Decision makers are in high demand. It's not just recruitment agencies that want to get in front of this audience, it's other businesses as well. When we think about attracting and engaging clients, it's all about making sure your brand stands out. We see clients do this really well by sharing expertise, trends, and knowledge that's key to making connections with your audience. Nina, I'd love for you to share some examples from across Asia of recruitment agencies doing this well.
Adecco is the largest global recruitment company with over 33,000 employees. Adecco works on full-time and contract roles. Adecco is best in class for attracting clients that are interested in contract staffing with an entertaining event. An event is a quick way of developing new relationships with clients that your brand has never engaged with before. Using sponsored updates, we can target the exact audience that you would like to invite to an event. Adecco has done a great job of providing workforce trends to potential clients with an event that provides a chance to develop the relationship before directly asking for business. Remember back to Gary Vee's philosophy of give, 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 and then ask. This is a perfect example.
Nina, what I really love about this piece of content is that they're showing that they're forward thinking. They're talking about the future trends in their industry, really solidifying that they're experts.
Manpower Singapore is part of Manpower Group. They pride themselves on providing workforce solutions and innovations globally. Manpower Singapore is consistently ranked to have the highest click-through rate for all of APAC staffing. Manpower Singapore does a great job of connecting to clients through white papers and creating eye-capturing images with a snapshot of what the white paper includes. Infographics, statistics, charts, and people are some of the most highest engaged pieces of content. And Manpower Singapore has created an eye-capturing image with this triple threat combination. Every quarter, Manpower Singapore engages with the same targeted audience in the newest quarterly report. Manpower Singapore does a great job of providing free data to engage with a client about a topic that is relevant for them before directly asking for the client for business.
What I love here, Nina, is they've created a big piece of content. We call that a big rock content that they can leverage throughout the year in smaller, snackable bites. This is also a great time-saving tactic.
Yes, they are a great example of an always-on strategy and being consistent. Apex is a pioneer. They are an executive search firm of 60 employees in Japan that specialize in recruitment of bilingual professionals and work closely with domestic and multinational companies in Japan. Apex is an example of a company that's best in class for collecting their own data to be used for custom content. Apex wanted to create its own insights for thought leadership, but they didn't have the exact internal data that they needed. This didn't stop Apex. Apex created a short survey and incentivized survey respondents with not only a copy of the report, but a chance to win a gift card as well. 90% of the survey respondents came from LinkedIn. This is how Apex overcame the problem and gained the information that they needed to create thought leadership.
Nina, that's great to see examples of driving value and showing industry expertise. I'd love if we transition now to hear about our last audience, recruitment consultants.
Recruitment consultants are in high demand. What benefits do recruitment consultants care about? Depending on the country, the order of what attracts recruitment consultants is different. For all of APAC, compensation is ranked number 1. If your company offers a competitive commission structure or a high base salary, don't be shy and attract the audience with the information that they care about. What's in it for them? Give consultants an inside sneak peek about what life would be like to work for your brand. Here are some best-in-class examples. Hays is a global recruitment company and last year placed over 70,000 permanent candidates and 240,000 in temp assignments. This post truly shows that Hays values the contributions of their employees. Dean, the managing director, posted a video from his personal profile of a recruitment consultant making his first placement. The consultant rang a bell as an accomplishment, and the entire room cheered for him. The video captured the energy that the room had when watching. You couldn't help but smile and think about how fun the company culture is at Hays. People want to know who they will work for and who with. The Hays leadership team does a great job of posting content on a daily basis for their team's achievements. Example, first deal close, anniversaries, salary guides, career fairs. Give the consultant an inside sneak peek about what life would be like to work for your brand. Every day, I see a post from the Hays leadership team commending their accomplishments. Sophie, the training manager, shared a post celebrating Catherine, an employee who had worked for Hays for 15 years.
I love to see this, Nina. The number 3 reason in APAC that recruitment consultants change jobs is for a strong career path. Highlighting this is a great way to attract new consultants as we know they care about their career path. Future You is one of Australia's most exciting newcomers to the market. Actually, I don't think I can call them a newcomer anymore. They are in an exec search firm that has grown to over 85 employees in the last year and a half. With that growth comes hiring a lot of recruitment consultants. They opened up an office this past year in Melbourne. Here's a video of their employees. They filmed this. They put this together themselves, describing why they love to work with each other and what the Melbourne office is like. As a potential recruit, you would walk in for your interview feeling like you know the team already. One of the main reasons that Australian recruiters look for in a company is that a company's culture fits their personality. This video is playing exactly to what we know Australian recruiters are looking for. As a candidate researches Future You a little bit more, you'll find their enhanced company page. Future You has heaps of quality content for prospective employees to learn more about them. On this page, you can see candid photos of the team and their office. You can read thought leadership from their founders. And you can also read testimonials from individual employees about their purpose-driven work environment and why they like showing up every day. The beauty of this is it's all what prospective recruiters look for when they're looking for a new opportunity. Nina, that rounds out our review of the audiences. Before we start Q&A, can you share the curate versus create tactic?
Yes. Many companies do not have their own internal marketing team and are low on time and need a variety of different pieces of content. There are two ways to execute content. The first is curate. Curate is sharing another post, article, blog that someone else has posted publicly. We recommend to add your brand's own opinion with 1 or 2 short sentences. Post and repurpose this article to your company page. Some great sites that we recommend for curating content are LinkedIn Pulse, Business Insider, and nonprofit organizations. Many nonprofit organizations have already done the research, and your company can cite them with permission. One that I like about female diversity is called Female Founders. They have great stats about women in leadership. Write a question or opinion on top of the website URL and get the conversation started. Tag some of your leadership and ask for their opinion. Include hashtags and watch the engagement increase. The second way to execute content is to create it yourself. Creating your own content can seem overwhelming, but with these easy tools, you can become a pro and take your brand to the next level. How do you source data for relevant topics? Maybe you want to go a little deeper into the relevant topics that we discussed. Do you know the TV show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They have 3 lifelines, 50-50, phone a friend, and poll the audience. Studies have found that the most accurate answer always comes from polling a large audience. Polling your own consultants and leadership is my personal favorite way of collecting data because your team has the newest knowledge and know about the latest trends. What questions are clients and candidates asking your team? What are their pain points? Survey your team and use those questions and answers to form your own content calendar. Now that you have a topic in mind, come up with a medium to create your content. This can be a short article, a blog, a simple image, or a video. You don't have to come from a design background or have any PR experience to be a pro. For images, if you're looking for free images, try Pixel. It's a good site. Images with people do very well. Netflix has done studies to determine how many people should be in an image that generates the most clicks. Netflix found that an individual face performs better compared to a group picture. My favorite resource is Canva. If you don't have a Canva account, you're missing out. Canva has free and paid accounts that include different image templates of high quality, and the program is easy to use. For video, we recommend OneMob. It's a great app for personal video footage. If you need to make a short video clip, it has great sound production, and the quality can be done from a cell phone. We recommend to keep your video under 1 minute. When writing a blog or a post, from your own personal profile or from the company page, we recommend to write content that your clients or candidates are asking about. I've written 3 posts for my own personal profile, and these came about because that's what recruitment companies were asking me. I wrote one article about how the color gray can hurt your ROI because that's what clients were asking me about for the image background color. Megan, can you show us an example of curate versus create?
Definitely, Nina. Someone who I think does this really well is Blackbook. Blackbook is an 8-person executive search firm who really nails curating content that is, 1, highly relevant to their audience, and 2, complements the content that they create themselves. Here is a reposted article from Business Insider highlighting the growth in manufacturing in Australia. They've posted this to their page and changed the teaser text to be relevant for their audience. This is quickly followed up by a thought leadership post that they've created on the future of manufacturing. I love that they've used the curated content to remain topical and warm up the audience to hear more from them directly about their own opinions and their own expertise. Agencies of all sizes can use this tactic to complement their content marketing strategy. Nina, we've really covered a lot today. Can you sum up the key takeaways before we go into the live Q&A?
There are 3 key takeaways. Number 1, your audience comes first. Instead of talking about your company, talk about what's important to your audience, so that way they'll remember you. 2, give your audience knowledge, tips, and white papers about topics that are relevant before asking for business. And 3, try to curate or create content with our easy tools. That's it for Megan and I, and now I'm going to pass it over to Isabel, who's going to moderate the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Nina and Megan. That was great. Fantastic to see all those examples as well. And I encourage everyone on the line to jump on LinkedIn and check out the company pages of the agencies mentioned to see what they've been doing in terms of content marketing. Now we got some questions coming through while you were presenting, so I'd love to take some of the questions. If anyone on the line has any more questions, now is the time to ask Megan and Nina. Sorry. So I actually had a couple of questions come through around a similar topic, and that is, how do I motivate my employees to share content from the company page on their own profile? So how do I activate the whole employee basically to be socially engaged and share content? Can you give some tips on that?
Izzy, this is Nina. Thank you so much for asking that question. That is a very common question that we get and is a huge pain point for leadership within staffing and recruitment. But it really starts with the leadership team and with the management leading by example. So from our examples that we had shown about Hays, I could have shown about 10 other examples from the same week of different managers at Hays posting different pieces of content, celebrating their team or different wins that they've had internally. And that's the answer, is really it starts with the upper management so that way the team is viewing your content. You really have to inspire them so that way they'll follow.
Great, thank you. Before I forget, I actually had a few questions come through asking whether we will be sharing the slides and the recording, and we will be. So look out for an email in the coming days. Everyone who registered for this webinar will receive an email with the link to the recording so you can watch it again or share it with your team so that everyone can watch this webinar. Now on to the next question. When is the best time to post content was a question that came through, and a similar one I'm going to ask them both at the same time. You spoke about posting content consistently. How often do you recommend posting on LinkedIn per week? Is there a guideline that you can share around this?
Yeah, Izzy, it's Megan. I can go ahead and jump in there. I think that the answer to this question can be different based on where you're at today. So if you look at your company and you're not posting anything on a regular basis today, I'd say set yourself a realistic goal. So if that means once a week for the next 2 months, and then you're moving into 2 to 3 times a week for the next 2 months, that's great. But I think getting yourself started and getting into the habit of it is key there. If you're posting today, say 2 to 3 times per week, ideally we want you to be posting at least once per day. So that would be the sweet spot that I'd say we want to get people in the habit of doing that. As you start to learn about your audience and when they're responding, we always want to keep a pulse on that engagement. So if your audience is highly engaging with you when you're posting daily, you can increase that a little bit and post maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day. But again, once we start to see that engagement decrease, we want you to rein that back in and figure out what's my audience wanting to hear from me. So it can vary, but ideally, posting once per day is the best practice that we want to get you up to. But where I emphasize is set yourself some realistic goals based on where you're at today and work towards that. Nina, did you have anything else to add on that?
Sometimes we get a lot of questions specifically about the time of day, in terms of what time of day should we be posting content as well. We've done studies on this, and we've seen that a lot of leads come in and also engagement come in first thing in the morning. This could be anywhere from like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And also between 4 and 8 o'clock. Also, not in terms of just content marketing, but in terms of lead generation, and that's how we know the exact timestamp is when somebody clicks on an I'm interested button. We can actually see the number, the exact time when somebody's clicking on that I'm interested button. And we found that 60% of the leads that come in are actually coming in after or before office hours. So we always recommend to sponsor content so that way it's not just going out from the one time period of the company page or from your personal employees' profiles, because that could get pushed down with other updates from your employees' first-degree connections. But when you sponsor, you set up a specific target audience, it's displaying to that audience throughout different time periods of the day, so that way you'll have a better chance of interacting with them.
Great, thanks, Nina. Another question that came through was around creating content. So any tips that you guys can share on how you can create engaging content yourself?
Sure. So there's so many tools that are out there today that really make it easy for you to create content. When I consult with customers on their content strategy, I keep 3 key elements in mind. So what that is the first line of action is for you to really define what are your priorities. Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish through a content strategy? If you don't know what your priorities are, who's important to you, you can end up trying to do too many things. So that's the one trap I see a lot of staffing agencies fall into, is you're trying to do 10 things, accomplish 10 things. Let's really focus down those priorities to 1 to 3 things, because that way you can really nail it. So that second piece of it is your audience. So we want to define who is actually important to us, and we talked a little bit about this in the webinar. What do they care about? What actually motivates them? And that's where you can really start to develop content that they're actually going to take notice of and engage with. Some staffing agencies that do this really well, they kind of sit down and have a strategy session and say, you know, I'm going to own the conversation about how tech candidates work for exciting companies. And I want to be the #1 staffing agency that can talk about that. So they really hone in on what they want to accomplish and then move forward with that in mind.
Yeah, I would agree as well with Megan to just keep it simple to just a couple objectives. And at the same time, it doesn't need to be anything super elaborate. So a lot of people get very intimidated and they think, oh, I need to, have my executive management team write a 5-page long form post to sponsor, which let's be honest, like sometimes that never happens. So something that may be a little bit simpler is maybe to use a simple eye-capturing image that you can create in Canva to grab the audience's attention. But going back to just keeping in mind of, what's in it for them to respond back to you. So I would probably pose this question further to whoever answered this or asked this question, is to take this conversation up further with your relationship manager. Let them know who your target audience is so that way we can provide best practices specifically for your business objectives.